Hi guys, this is Dan from Magic Pachinko Restorations with a short video, not on a pachinko machine per se, but on how to rebuild a portion of a pachinko machine. Today I'm going to be showing you how to put this is the outer frame of a Model A machine. So the board would be in here, that's all been taken off. Full restoration is being done on this machine. So this is completely separate from everything. This has been sanded. This back wood has been sanded all down, polyurethane twice. On this side, I clean this particular model has the Formica, white Formica. A lot of machines have the blonde wood, so you treat each one a little differently. With the white Formica, excuse me, I take Awesome and fine steel wool and scrub it all down, get all the marks off of it, get it as clean as I can, and then I will also use like a Windex cleaner after that to get rid of the Awesome. Awesome tends to be a little bit oily. Get rid of that, and then I put a coat of wax, and I just use the soft semi-paste wax, or liquid wax, yeah. So it's got a coat of wax on it right now. I leave it on almost all. I usually don't even bother to rub it off. I just leave it on, but if I think about it, I rub it off. It doesn't really matter. So what I like to do, I like to be very organized. You guys have seen my workbench and so on and so forth. So I don't know how good this video is going to be because it may take way too long. And I want to see if I can fast forward through some of the boring stuff. But what I've got laid out here are all the parts that I'm going to need to do this, to work on this particular, particular phase of the pachinko machine. I've got some of the other tools that I'm going to use, and hopefully I'll be able to keep this whole thing in frame here so that you can see what I'm doing. So what you need to determine first when you go to put this portion of the machine back together is you need to figure out whether or not they call this a thumb rest, whether or not this thumb rest just went through the board like this, or if there was a trim piece under it. So that's why you take pictures. And this particular machine had most of the Nisogens have this aluminum piece, but this is the extended one that does have the area for the thumb rest. So that's the first thing that will go on, is the aluminum piece. And this just goes in. I don't know if I should tip this down. Maybe I should. Let's see. I get there. That's a little better. Okay. So this aluminum piece goes on with a couple of the stainless nails, and usually there's only one or two nails that hold this on, because there's other stuff that comes on top of it to hold it down. So now that what else goes on here is this piece, but this will go on over the launch mechanism, so I don't have to worry about that right now. So this is on. And the key to this is there's, unless they've been broken, which they quite often do, there's three little points here. And when you put this down through, sometimes it falls right in, other times you got to kind of screw it down. But you want to make sure that those points go back in the original holes if at all possible, because what that does is it makes sure that this goes right down nice and flush. Okay. Now here's another option, I guess, or choice. Some machines, the hardware goes right onto this, and other machines will have one of the latch brackets on it. This particular one had one of the latch brackets on it, so that's going to go on first. I'm missing. Oh, well, I guess this one didn't use it. Usually there's a big washer here, but this will take the big lock washer, and there are two of these large nuts associated with what I'm doing. Usually one will have paint on it and the other one won't. As I'm looking around, looks like I got a couple of pieces of hardware missing. All right, well, so this is a 14 millimeter nut. And that one's not going on real well. So that one is probably the other portion. Okay. I'll be back. Okay, I didn't get out all the hardware. So this is going to go on here. So now I found the big flat washer, the big lock washer, and the 14 millimeter nut that goes on to this. And you're gonna, in this case, you're gonna line up, there was one screw right there. Okay, so move this in a little bit, I guess. Okay, one screw is gonna go in there, and it will be one of the smaller screws that you have if you've kept all your hardware together. So that's going to go in like that. And then you're going to tighten this up. Now when you tighten this up, I will caution you, you want this snug, but not over tight. So once you get it pretty snug, just a little bit beyond, and that's it. The outer portion of this right here will break free if you tighten that nut up too much, and you don't want to do that. Okay, so here we've got this. Now the next part that we can put on, and there's a lot of different ways of doing this, but I found that this is one of the ways that makes the most sense to me. This is the launch handle mechanism. All of my parts go into an ultrasonic cleaner. It's a mix of water and evaporust that really cleans the metal up. Now, you can't tell in the video, but this doesn't turn easily at all. So the ball bearings have got some gook in them. This is the only part. There's two parts that I oil on a pachinko machine. This is one, and the ball bearings in here are the other. There is no other place on a pachinko I use oil. Oil is designed for metal parts, not brass and plastic. Some of the guys will tell you it's okay to use the dry lubricant. I've never used it, so I have nothing to go on. I don't feel it's necessary to lubricate things, especially when they're free. So as you can see now, this is just really, really free. That'll just spin forever now. I do run some oil up here because I'm going to be putting some nuts on there. Okay, so these really don't matter which way they go. Some of them will have a logo on them, and I just like to put them so that the logo is up at the top here, but it really doesn't matter. So when you've pulled all your hardware off, you're going to have a number of screws that are like this. Let's see, 4, 10, 12, probably 14 of them if I'm counting everything. So you want to get 4 of these started. So like I say, I hope I'm going to be able to fast forward through some of this stuff or figure out how to kick the video into high speed. You don't need to watch this all day long. Okay, so this is now secure. This is secure. The chrome piece is going to go on top of this with a couple of nails, but it doesn't need to be put on now. You can put it on whenever you want to. So you're going to bring this back around now, and we're going to concentrate on this area down in here, getting everything back on that belongs there. Again, I hope that's a good view. So there's a variety of things that are going to go here. You've got the bumpers. and you've got the rollers that the spring rides over. So there's a variety of different things. So if you've kept all the hardware for this together, there should be 3 nails, all the same length. These are going to go down through the bumpers. You will have 1 headless nail, and that is going to come over to the far right of your machine, and you just tap that back in until it hits bottom, and that's what this spring mechanism is going to lock onto. Now, one thing that I think I've mentioned it in some of the other videos, but inside of this, and I don't know if you can see, there's a solid piece in there. It's actually a piece of rolled up newspaper, Japanese newspaper. So when this expands and contracts, that newspaper tends to quiet the spring down, is my assumption. So what I do is I unhook this, I open that spring up so I can get the newspaper out. I throw the spring mechanism into my dunk tank, I call it, and get rid of all the rust. And then I put the newspaper back in and bring this coil back down where it belongs and put this all back together again. So what you end up with is a nice looking spring, no rust on it, and the original Japanese newspaper in it. Okay, so you have a double bumper holder, if you if you want to call it that. So this gets, again, depending on the machines, this is going to get one of the bumpers that looks like this, and that goes right up in there. The other one, again, depending on the manufacturer, you've got either just a plain or a leather wrapped one, whatever. This is going to go in here. So there's 3 holes here. 2 are for the nails, 1 is for the screw. It just lays right back in there. Grab your nails that go through everything. Line that up. Like that. Now I will say one thing about putting those back in. If you have a machine and for some reason, now this is one of the smaller screws that you'll have when you take the hardware out. If you have nails that stick up, when you go to put them back in, you're going to feel them hit bottom. Don't try to drive them in flush. I learned the hard way. They'll come right out the other side and make a mess. Believe me, you don't want to do that. Okay, this one holds this, and this has got a couple of little dimples in it. So does the rubber. Whoops, sorry. So does the rubber piece, so you know exactly how that goes back in. To get it out, I just use a little pry tool and pry this open so that I can put this back in. And then it'll collapse right back down when I nail it and screw it down. If the leather is loose on your bumpers, I just use contact cement to glue the leather right back down to the rubber. Works real well. Okay, so there's your bumpers. So this is a smaller screw. These 2 and these 4, all the same size. You should have 6 left, and that'll be for this piece here. Okay. All right, so all of that's in. Now, this is important. This is your strike lever, and this is square, and this down here is square also, down on the bottom of the shaft. You want to make sure that this is the position that your launch handle is in, the normal position, if you will. And then you're going to pretty much line this up on that same angle with your launch handle, and you'll feel this piece drop onto the square, so they move together. So that's what you want. Now you've got a large lock washer and the other 14-inch nut, and you're going to tighten this down pretty well. It's this presses on. So you want to make sure you get it down nice and tight so it doesn't go anywhere. I usually crank that about as hard as I can. Then you're going to take your spring and the adjustment piece, hook the spring onto the hook here, and just bring this across like that. And usually I'll put it on the second or third one of those. That'll be adjusted later. Again, depending on the machine, you're going to have all sorts of different roller sizes and things. And what you want is just a couple of brass nails. They're the same as all the brass nails on the machine. And you'll just see the spots where they were. And again, that hit bottom, and there's still a good 1/4 of an inch left. I'm not going to drive it in any farther, because if I do, it's going to come right out the other side of the front of the machine, and obviously I don't want that to happen. So when you pull on this, the spring rubs over them right in here. Okay. All right. Then the last thing that goes on is one other piece that can be oiled up, and I just put a little oil in the ball bearings and in the thread like that, and then make sure this spins real well. So this piece has got cutouts in it, and the cutouts are going to go towards the top of the machine. They allow for this part to go in and out of here. So this just sits on here, and you just start to hand thread this on. And you're going to keep turning it. Now, sometimes you can't do it by hand. Sometimes it's kind of stiff, but you turn it until the bracket itself just hits the board, and then you stop. We're going to adjust it in just a minute, but you want to turn it till it stops. So now you should have 6 of the good size screws left. And although this I'm sure isn't necessary, I just do this because I'm anal, I guess. I alternate the screws back and forth because I want that to go right back where it was. Like that. Okay, so now we test this, and we just pull the launch lever back down, make sure it doesn't make any bad noises or scrapes or anything like that, and you still should be able to move this nut without too much trouble back and forth. In other words, it's not trying to lift up, or it's not trying to push down on the mechanism. That's where you want it. So now you've got a lock washer, smaller lock washer, and this is a 10mm nut. And I just take an adjustable wrench and my 10mm socket, and you use the adjustable wrench to hang on to the nut that you've been turning down, and then you put the socket on the 10mm, and you're going to use your adjustable wrench to keep that nut from turning, and then you're going to use the socket to squeeze this down so that these 2 nuts aren't going to turn one way or the other, so the tension on this will stay the same. And again, you're just going to make sure that this is smooth, and it's not hitting anything, it's not scraping on anything, it's not making any odd noises. So that's what it looks like when it's all put back together. This is pretty quiet. Okay. Now there's some other stuff that will go on this at this point that you can put back on. I'll show you real quickly. You can put, again, this is a Model A, so it's got a Model A lock. The lock can go on. This is the anti-theft piece that would allow somebody not to get at the lock. And this just goes under it like that. There's 4 screws that hold that down. This one has corner brackets for protection. You've also got the actual corner hinge brackets that can go onto this board. And I wouldn't put it on now, but you do have the little plate for the catch box, and that's going to sit right there. But I usually don't put this on until I've got it back in the frame and I know everything's going to be lined up. So rest of the stuff's dirt simple. You can figure that out, but that's how you put your launch mechanism back on. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.